Counterattacking amid the chaos in Kursk, Ukrainian troops destroyed Russian Marines. Ukrainian troops reportedly surrounded and destroyed a small unit from the Russian 810th Naval Infantry Brigade on the northern edge of Ukraine's 250-square-mile salient in western Russia's Kursk Oblast on Friday. It's the latest disaster for one of the lead units in Russia's 8-day-old counteroffensive in the Oblast. Anticipating that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will lean on Ukraine to agree to an armistice that freezes the front line in place, Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered his troops to eject Ukrainian troops from Kursk before Trump's January inauguration. There are weeks of hard fighting ahead, but so far the Russians have advanced just a few hundred yards while losing more than 100 vehicles and potentially thousands of troops killed and wounded. The 2,000-person 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, backed by thousands of North Korean reinforcements, might be the hardest hit. The 810th Brigade is bleeding right now, one Russian blogger reported. Every day is sent on unprepared assaults against the Ukrainian 95th Air Assault Brigade's persistent defense. The first 2 days of attacks on Novichok 7 and 8 cost the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade dearly and revealed deep dysfunction in the brigade's chain of command that has contributed to its catastrophic losses. According to Russian blogger Romanov, the brigade's officers told the Russian General Staff the roads around the village of Pogrebki, on the front line just north of the Kursk salient, were clear of Ukrainian mines. Logically, after receiving this information, the General Staff issued an order to storm the settlement. The roads weren't clear of mines. The 810th Naval Infantry Brigade's factory-fresh BTR 82-wheeled fighting vehicles exploded like firecrackers. The vehicles that got through ran into a wall of Ukrainian artillery, missiles, drones, and tank fire. The 95th Air Assault Brigade claimed it and adjacent brigades destroyed 36 Russian vehicles and killed 100 Russian Marines in those first 2 days. Rather than learning from that disastrous experience, the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade continued sending troops on doomed assaults. Deliberately disinformation the General Staff by the command of the 810th Brigade has become a routine practice. Russia is advancing, but it's also spending significant amounts of men and material in the process, explained Emil Kastehelmi, an analyst with the Blackbird Group. And those advances are modest. The Ukrainians no longer control Pogrebki, but the Russians don't fully control it either. An M2 Bradley fighting vehicle from the Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade shot up Russian BTR-82s in Orlovka just south of Pogrebki on Thursday. The same day, the 95th Air Assault Brigade counterattacked in the area and captured some Russian Marines. No one knows for sure what Trump will do, or more precisely, try to do, once he takes office on January 20th. His cabinet picks are a bizarre mix. A television host with modest military experience for defense secretary, a notorious conspiracy theorist for intelligence director. The still-forming Trump administration may suffer deep dysfunction. How that might shape the war in Ukraine remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, according to Tatarigami, the founder of the Ukrainian Front Insight Analysis Group, anyone who thinks Ukrainians will simply give up hasn't been paying attention. Meanwhile, the situation changed as summer wore into fall. In recent months, this direction resembled chaos, Gorski wrote. With the absence of a solid line, with a torn front, with a Russian that 1 to 2 men at a time seeped deep into our rear. Ukrainian forces are tired and stretched thin all along the 800-mile front line of the wider war. But that's not the only reason for the shift in momentum in the Russians' favor. Russian infantry are no longer just sitting in their trenches most of the time, waiting for Ukrainian drones to dive down on them. The Russian regiments north of Kupiansk always had enough infantry, even if those infantry were directionless and demoralized. More recently, the regiments came up with motivation for that infantry. The source of that motivation should be obvious. Anticipating that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will lean on Ukraine to agree to an armistice that hands Russia control of any Ukrainian territory it occupies. Russian press Vladimir Putin has ordered his troops to go all out and grab as much of Ukraine as they can, as fast as they can, ahead of Trump's January inauguration. The Russians are prioritizing political goals above all, wrote Emil Kostalhelmy, an analyst with the Black Bird Group. That has translated into aggressive offensive action.